Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Houston Sports Talk back in the video today. And today we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans potentially trading for quarterback Trey Lance of the San Francisco 49ers, as it's been reported, and it's been one of the biggest talks in the NFL in the last day of Wednesday, as of Wednesday today. One of the biggest. I mean, you have the last day. There's kind of shared of two. I mean, one of the biggest things that's been going on today is the last day for visits in the draft, for top 30 visits. It's the last day for top 30 visits in the NFL. So that's one of the biggest things going on today. And then also, one of the things that started off in the morning was that the San Francisco 49ers have gotten some phone calls about quarterback Trey Lance and could be looking to move him for the right price, right picks. And I think it's a really interested thing. There are three teams that are going to be, the favorites to pick him up. Number one, it's looking like Minnesota is going to be the number one team to be after quarterback Trey Lance. And then number two is going to be the Tennessee Titans. And then number three that is interested is my favorite team, the Houston Texans. As the Texans, I know a lot of Texans fans are not going to like this potential move. I potentially like it, but is this a move I think that makes the Texans, sets them up for their franchise? If we would have seen more from Trey Lance in his time, his last 3 or 2 seasons, however long he's been in the NFL, I think it would have been a different conversation. If we've seen it was expected from him, instead of him being the backup for Jimmy Garoppolo or him breaking his leg, and we having a different look at what this kid is really his real talent is, I would say go for it. Number one, he wouldn't be this cheap at this point. I mean, remember this, Trey Lance was a kid that when he was originally going to San Francisco, it was like Patrick Mahomes excitement. Let him sit for a year and then he might have like a Patrick Mahomes type season. Now, he did get that chance with the 49ers in season 2, but then broke his ankle. So he didn't get a chance to. And I will say he played one game in that season, he played one game and then like the first half of a game or like the first quarter of a game. And I think he did the first game. I don't think he was that great. They lost badly to the Bears, which the Bears are just a horrible team, and that was week 1. But that was like his first start with as the real starter. Like his previous starts, he had like 2 starts before that, I think, and before that was Jimmy Garoppolo's team. But this was his first start as he's the QB of the future. And then his second start, he breaks his ankle. I think they were up like 3-0 or 6-0 or 6-3, something like that, when he got hurt. So he was able to produce some points on the board for San Francisco before his outing. But there's not enough, to look at of him to, see what his talent is. In his rookie season, he did start against the Texans themselves and played a really good game. He in his starts in his rookie year in 21, he did have some decent games, but I just don't think it was enough to see from him. And this is a guy for the San Francisco 49ers. They picked him at 3rd overall, and I think it's gonna have to take a heavy price to get rid of him, because not only did they pick him at number 3, and I know we've seen Jeff Okudah, a guy from the Lions, who's picked number 3 in 2021. He just got moved for like a 5th round pick. That's not the only reason why. I mean, they also gave up a lot of picks to get up there to that spot 3. I think they traded up from pick 12 or pick 15, something like that. So they spent a lot of picks and money to trade up for Trey Lance to be their guy of the future, but then it has not panned out in the first 2 years, and now they've found this kid Brock Purdy in the 7th round, who's just been amazing, and now it's looking like he's going to be their starting quarterback. So it's a really crappy situation for Trey Lance, but they're also going to be looking for a little bit more than expected for Trey Lance, because they also have Brock Purdy, who just had surgery. They're going to want to have Trey Lance ready to go just in case something happens with Brock Purdy again, or his rehab takes a little bit of a setback, God forbid. So I think it would take a little bit to give up to trade for Trey Lance. And looking at the Texans picks right now, I don't trade a second round pick for Trey Lance just because you don't know what you're going to get out of him. I think a third round pick and a sixth round pick this season, and maybe a future pick next season. If he does something, if he does this stat, or if this how many passing yards or plays in this amount of games or whatever, a conditional pick. So maybe a third round pick, which is 65th overall, a sixth round pick from New Orleans, and that's in this year's draft, and then a conditional fourth round pick, and Trey Lance has to do something. Who knows? Passing yards, passing touchdowns. Who knows? So then you potentially get a fourth, a third, and a sixth for Trey Lance in that trade. Now, why would the Texans do this with having a second overall pick and potentially taking a quarterback? And here's a big reason why the Texans would do this. You're getting a quarterback who's really decent and is not as good as one of the guys you could be getting at 2, but it's pretty solid. And I don't think Trey Lance is as good or better as Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, but I don't think Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud are far off from Trey Lance. If we've seen, what we've seen from him in the NFL so far and what he's expected to be. So in that case, that's one reason. You get him for very cheap, and you still get to get someone else really talented at number 2. Here's one of the other reasons why the Texans would be interested in bringing in Trey Lance for really cheap, for a third, a sixth, and a future fourth, conditional future fourth, is because with all the new guys that are from the San Francisco 49ers system, obviously DeMeco Ryans is the head coach. He was the defensive coordinator, nothing to do with the offense, but he is for sure familiar with Trey Lance and familiar with his game. And then Bobby Slowick, who is now the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, was the passing game coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers when Trey Lance was with them, or is still with them, but now Bobby Slowick is on the Texans. And I could possibly see that being a reason. He's already worked with Slowick as his passing game coordinator. Now this should just be his offensive coordinator. I don't think he probably had to work a lot with DeMeco Ryans, but it would be different now because this would be his head coach, not the defensive coordinator. So 2 guys that used to be in your staff in San Francisco. And also, this is another reason why the Texans would do this, because you get to draft at 2, Will Anderson at 2. That's someone the Texans have really had a lot of interest in at number 2 is Will Anderson. And just, think about what DeMeco, the type of coach he is. DeMeco, he wants that defense to be top tier. I think the defense is pretty excellent right now, but it will just be top even more. It'll be even more better with adding in a player like Will Anderson on the defense. And then you have Trey Lance at the quarterback with multiple wide receivers, Robert Woods, Noah Brown, Nico Collins, John Mechie, Dalton Schultz at the tight end, Damian Pearson, Devin Singletary at the running back. Then at the defense, it's loaded. Jimmy Ward and Derek Stingley Jr. at the corners, Jalen Petrie, list goes on of the defense, Jonathan Grenard, Christian Harris, and then potentially to add on more in the draft. So I don't do it. Is this something I think the Texans should do? No. But it's a decent, thought-out game plan for trading 3 picks, not picks that are going to cost you much, a third-round pick that's 65th overall, a sixth-round pick early in the 6th round, and a conditional 4th-round pick for next season. So that's not going to cost you much, and then you get to draft the guy you like on defense at number 2. Is it something I think the Texans should do? Hell no. But it is an option for the Texans if they are that interested in Will Anderson, and if they like what they see from Trey Lance. I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Do I think it happens? No. Do I think it should happen? No. But I do think it is a decent topic to just put your mind on about, because Trey Lance has not gotten a chance yet. It's clear that Brock Purdy is the guy in San Fran, and we're just going to have to see what happens with Trey Lance. Is he going to Minnesota? Is he going to Tennessee? I don't think he comes to Houston. I think, although the Texans have interest in Will Anderson, I think the Texans are going to take a quarterback at 2, whether that's Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. I think the Texans might have some thoughts about Will Anderson at 2 if Bryce Young is taken at 1 instead of taking C.J. Stroud, going with Will Anderson. But I think the Texans, if ultimately it comes to that, I think the Texans will take a C.J. Stroud. I think the Texans have a lot of decisions to make in the next week. I mean, it's April 19th. The draft is April 27th. So in the next 8 days, the Texans have a lot of decisions to make, and I'm excited to see what they do. And that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed them. Thoughts, and peace out.